Hey guys, I'm Wit,
I'm Doug.
and we're the
Stream Team.
Today we are going over tripods.
Yes.
The desk is gone, in case you're wondering what's missing. Please share, like, subscribe. This is episode 9.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yes, 9, but the 10th. It's actually been released. Yes, because we had that whole part 1, part 2 with 5. You've used tripods.
I have. I do feel. I
Yes.
don't know what accent that is, but yeah, I actually don't really like tripods. They don't mean them don't get along.
Would you rather handhold? Is that what you prefer?
No. No, it's just like, it just depends on the tripod. The nicer it is, obviously, the nicer it is to use.
Right.
I've worked with some pretty crappy tripods,
Oh, yeah.
and it makes your experience
we
kind
all
of
have.
miserable.
Yeah, exactly. So a good tripod pays for itself, and that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you invest a lot of money in a tripod? So looking over the ones we got here, we've got, well, I should mention that when you get into professional stuff, the head, this top part, is sold separately from the legs. So you can typically buy them as kits as well, but realistically, you're probably better off buying separately. So you get the appropriate size legs for the weight of camera that you're going to be using and the height you need and those kinds of things. And then you get a head that's appropriately sized for the weightier camera as well. So,
Right.
yeah, so this head is like $80. This one's like $2,000. So big range. And this one's more in between. This one's like $160 for this head. So,
Okay.
but they all have one thing in common. They're all called fluid heads.
Fluid heads.
Yeah,
Right.
which basically means that it's using a viscous fluid to damp the motion so that every time you start or stop, it ramps up or ramps down smoothly instead of just having abrupt,
Yeah.
jolty
That never
movements
looks
all the
good.
time. Yeah, exactly. So
I've worked with tripods like that.
yeah,
I'm like, man, you're making me look bad, man.
yeah, it's
Just, like,
frustrating.
trying
Like,
to,
even the best camera
move.
operators can't do well if you got a bad tripod head.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah, so it really does make a huge difference. So just by the way of reference, this one's a Manfrotto, this one's also a Manfrotto, and this one's a Sackler. There are many different brands, and you can't necessarily go by just the brands in order to know what's good. You kind of have to do your research a little bit, and even price doesn't necessarily dictate how good something is too. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
there's kind of a rough correlation there, but yeah, I've got one tripod head from a company called E-Image, which was actually pretty inexpensive, and it's pretty good, all things considered. So
Okay.
yeah, you gotta do your shopping, gotta do a little bit of,
The only brand names I know are Manfrotto and Sackler.
yeah, and the most
That's
common,
it.
most common. So
all
yeah,
I
you
can think
probably see Manfrottos the most.
Yeah.
They're
I've worked with them the most
common,
too.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
they're not quite as expensive as this bad
Right,
boy.
right. Yep.
This is the FSB10.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and I bought this one mostly to be sized appropriate for my Ursa Mini, because
Oh, okay.
yeah, because they all have weight ratings. So like this one, you're not supposed to put a camera on it more than about 8 pounds, I think it is.
Oh.
This one does up to 16, I think, if I remember right. So, and if you don't size it appropriately, then like for example, you go to lean the tripod forward, and it just falls over on you
Yeah.
because there's too much weight, and then the motion gets jerky if you have too much weight on there too. So.
I had that happen with my phone. So I have the 8 Plus, and I got like a little gimbal thing. I can't remember what it's called. Shoot, but it when the Bluetooth, it's supposed to balance it out,
Right.
and then it would just die.
Right.
I was like, I was so mad because it has a follow focus, and I was really excited about it. It's too
Yeah,
heavy.
Yeah, not appropriately sized. So yeah. So it's very important that you size, especially the head, for the weight of camera that you're going to be using. on it.
Otherwise,
So,
it's pointless.
yeah, and when you're talking about camera, you're not just talking about the camera. You're also talking about any accessories you put on it. So battery, if you're going to do a monitor, zoom controller, whatever. You want to have the total weight of everything that's going to be on there. All your cables, all of it. So.
Science.
Yeah, math.
Math. That's what it is. Ugh.
So, but yeah, like I said, not all fluid heads are created equal. So even if, like, you had a Manfrotto that's rated for 8 pounds, and you get a Sakura that's rated for 8 pounds, this one's not going to be as smooth as this one. You know,
Right.
it's just these are made better, and that's
Mhm.
especially true if you're talking about working in extreme temperatures, especially in the
Oh.
cold.
Yeah.
In the cold, these Manfrottos get pretty sticky. So every time you go to make a motion,
Yeah,
it kind
I
of
didn't
jerks
really think about that.
a little
yeah.
bit. Yeah, whereas the Sakura, it doesn't do that. So you can be working out in freezing weather, and
Mhm.
it's still really smooth. So,
Okay.
yeah. Now, in terms of the legs,
Mhm.
a lot of people think, well, the legs don't really matter that much. But every time...
I mean, I'm like, what? But that's because I know.
Yeah, so what happens if you get a pair of legs that's not sturdy enough, strong enough, like every time you go to make a motion with your tripod, some of that motion gets absorbed by the legs. So like you can do a quick pan to the left, it
Mhm.
absorbs some of that, and so it gets jerky when you start, and then it jerks when you stop.
Yeah.
Because it's twisting back into place. Again, you want to get a set of legs that's going to have enough strength for the weight of the camera that you're going to be using, and maybe even the shooting style. If you're going to be moving around a lot, maybe you want something that's a little more rugged.
Is this carbon fiber?
This one is carbon fiber,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, so they're different materials.
I love
so-
carbon fiber.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
ultra
it's
light.
really light.
It's
Yeah,
really,
I
really
love the
light. Yeah,
light.
this tripod weighs, oh gosh, less than half of what this one does.
Yeah.
You know, it's big difference.
Yeah, I think I borrowed this one from you, and I was like, oh, because I had to carry everything by myself for
Yeah.
a shoot.
That's explicitly why I bought the carbon fiber
Yeah.
one. If there's anything that I need to go shoot where I'm going to be walking a long distance, I have to
Mhm.
carry the tripod.
Yeah.
So yeah, I bought the carbon fiber, and it literally is less than half the weight of the equivalent aluminum.
Mhm.
So, but you also pay a lot more money.
I was
going
going to say, it's just more expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a bit more money.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I don't remember specifically what I think these legs were like 270, and these maybe been like 180 or something like that. I can't remember. I've had this pair of legs for close to 20 years,
Oh,
so
okay.
I can't remember exactly what I paid for it.
Mm.
But yeah, so carbon fiber is nice, but it really does add to the price tag, and
Yeah.
it actually isn't quite as rigid as aluminum. So if you want the most strength, you might want to go with an aluminum.
Oh, okay.
But the downside is they are
Heavy.
a lot heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah, aluminum is not typically that heavy, but you get enough of it in a set of tripod legs like this, and
Then you add the camera to it.
yeah, exactly.
Although
So,
you don't really walk around with the camera on the tripod.
you're not
you
supposed
might need to move
You're not
it.
supposed to.
I've heard some stories where someone put a tripod with the camera on it on their back.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and but
Camera flew off.
Camera falls off. Yeah, that's a good way to get fired from a
Expensive. Yeah,
job.
that's a great way to not be around anymore.
So, yeah. We'll talk just a little bit about the plates. So we got two different types of plates here, actually. So they're all called quick release because you can remove them. Oh, I got that. There we go. So quickly remove it just by doing the lever. So this is a tiny one. These are most typically used for like photo still cameras.
Yeah, DSLRs.
DSLRs, that
Mhm.
kind of thing. Yep. But you can use them with video.
I think I've lost a total of 6 of those in my life.
Yeah, and so this one is more of a sled or slider type. So we got a camera here that we can actually put on there. So in this
Yeah.
case, it slides in,
You'll put this side right here, press the button to unlock it,
and they usually slide in from the back.
slide in from the back
Quite
usually.
often won't slide in from the front at all.
And then on this side,
Flip that around. And there we go.
I'll just pin it to the other
Locked. There we go.
camera.
Bingo.
And then you'll lock it with this
Yeah,
little,
tighten down the
tighten that down.
wrong way.
I can't see what I'm doing.
It's hard to do backwards, isn't it?
So
Yeah, there you go.
it will not go anywhere.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So once you put everything, then you need to balance it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want more weight on the front or on the back. Put on all your accessories, your monitor, your cables, everything, and then you kind of slide it front to back. And then just kind of tilt it back, front to back manually and see where where it's trying to go naturally. If it's trying to drift to the front, then you slide
Move it back, yeah,
Yeah.
so it's more centered.
Yep. So it is actually considerably easier,
Hmm
but not common. It's something that
Yeah.
it's more found on your higher end.
I think the first time I used one, I was like, "What is this thing?"
Right.
And I had to get help.
because you can't rear load these things. They
Mhm.
don't work.
It won't, yeah,
So
at all.
you have to be familiar with it. So, all right. So in addition to that, we've also got some other adjustments on here. Do you know what those do?
These,
Mm-hmm. Like this one and this one and this one.
well, this will loosen how well it turns.
Yes,
This is like hitting this.
Yeah. So that's the resistance, right?
The resistance, yeah.
Move this out of the way.
So depending on how much you want it,
Mhm.
easily you want to be able to turn it.
Right.
I usually keep it about in the middle.
Yeah. And it's really a matter of personal taste.
Yeah.
So I've known
Like sometimes
some,
if it's really light,
it's easy to jerk.
it's easy to jerk
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
so you
yeah.
want it a little bit resistant.
But it really is personal taste. Like some of the
Mhm.
camera operators I work with, like it basically turned all the way down, and others crank it all the way up. So
Yeah.
and it also depends on what you're shooting, and like if you're shooting a subject that's really far away, you probably
Mhm.
want a little more resistance so you're not making any big movements by mistake.
Right. Yeah.
So that's this one. Yeah, like
Mhm.
that's really loose. You don't normally see people using them quite like that. So that's this one, and then this one is
Tilt.
the same thing for a tilt, up and down.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Up and down.
Yeah. Are you familiar with what this one does?
I
Those
don't
are
know.
those
what
are a
this
little less
one
common.
does.
Yeah, you don't see those quite as often. But
It's kind of weird.
that's basically the resistance to up and down movement. It's a spring, so it tries to return the camera to a vertical position. So if you put a
Oh,
heavier
okay.
camera on there, you turn this to a higher number, and then the spring has more tension to return it back to upright. So
Okay.
otherwise, you start to tilt a little bit forward, the weight of the camera will just may want to make it flop all the way forward. So you turn this
okay.
up, and then as you start aiming down, it resists the weight of the camera, so that it's more of a consistent motion.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Why is this flickering?
HDMI.
Stupid HDMI. Gonna kill it.
And I will be redoing that in the next couple of weeks.
So yeah, once you have all that done, then you probably want to make sure it's balanced.
Right. Couple things to note about that. So yeah,
Mhm.
there's a little bubble level on here, and those are common on at least at your higher end. If you don't have one of those, you can buy some that will you can like put a little
Clip
adhesive
onto it.
yeah.
But they're usually on tripods.
Your
for the
better
most
ones.
part.
Yeah, your better ones do have the bubble levels built in, and in some cases they're even
That one has a light.
eliminated.
We discovered that. I discovered that not long ago, and I was like, "What?" 'Cause I'm
Um,
usually in the dark, like with a flashlight, my phone light,
Mhm.
trying to see and
Right.
trying to balance it and like see what
Right.
I'm doing.
Yep.
So you want to put the bubble right in the center, and then that means that your camera's level.
Yep. So your horizon in your shot's going to be level that way,
Mhm.
and every time you pan left or right, things don't move up and down on you, and all sorts of weirdness.
Yeah.
So, but there's actually a couple different ways to level cameras. So, with like this tripod, the only control you have is the length of the legs. So if you want to
Mhm.
change how level it is, the only thing you can do is adjust how long the legs are.
Yeah.
You get into some of these other ones. This one has a bowl mount on it. So if you want to change how level it is, there's a knob here you loosen up,
Yep.
and then you can move it around and
That's
level
usually
it that way.
That's usually
So-
how I've done it.
But yeah, there's both. Both
Mhm.
both of them are common. So this is more common on your higher end ones.
Mhm.
The downside to this style is that you don't get a center column that you can raise up like you do on this one. So
Yeah, so
on
that
this
one
one,
can
if
go
you
a
need a
lot
little
taller.
additional height, you can
Mhm.
do that. Whereas you can't do that on these. So
But usually the camera's a lot heavier, so you probably don't want
right
to do that either, so.
And the more you extend a tripod, the more flimsy it is. So
Mhm.
yeah, so you don't want to go higher than you really need to.
Yeah.
So,
True.
but yeah, there's all sorts of different heights, all sorts of different weight capabilities.
Mhm.
So it's all over the map. You just kind of have to pick what's going to be right for what you're shooting and what camera you have. So,
Do you have a favorite?
of course. Yeah, exactly.
I want one.
So, but when you're doing multi-camera production, you got a budget. You probably can't necessarily afford $3,500 for each one of your tripods. So
What?
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So you have to be careful. That's why I've landed on these Manfrotto heads as kind
Mhm.
of my standard for most of my camera operators. Like they're
Yeah.
good enough for most situations, and they're not terribly expensive.
I think
so.
I usually try and steal this one, but if not, that one. If we're out.
Yeah.
But,
So.
yeah.
But it also depends on camera operator capability. So if I've
True.
got someone who's a little bit newer and not as experienced, I will put them on my better tripods because it
Mhm.
helps to smooth out their movements a little bit.
Yeah.
So a more experienced operator is better equipped to.
The best thing to do is just keep practicing with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it takes years to master
It
this
took
stuff.
me a while to get stuff down
Yeah.
without looking jittery.
Did camera operation for more than a decade before I felt like I was actually getting smooth enough shots for it to be professional.
Yeah.
So, but once you've got it, it's like riding a bicycle; it never
Yeah.
leaves.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it really is just a matter of practice. So.
And then you just keep spending more and more money on
Yeah.
nicer and nicer equipment because you're a dork.
Nailed it.
That's what we all do. It's fine. We don't have a
So,
problem.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, tripod is a pretty critical piece of gear, and it is worth investing in something good.
Yes.
Because a bad one, you will see it in your shots, you know.
Right.
So, you know, even though this is kind of mid-range in terms of this market, you'll definitely see the shots are jerkier on this than they are on this one.
Well, and then
So-
they'll just last longer too.
Oh, for sure.
So you
Yeah.
want something that's going to last, and depending on how often you're going to use it, and
Yeah.
where you're going to use it, especially outside.
Yeah. If you got varying weather conditions you got to be working with, so yeah,
Yep.
the tripods can last a long time. I've got one tripod that I've still used. It's over 20 years old at this point, and it still works great. You know, just because I've taken care of it. You know.
Yeah.
So make sure you don't abuse them. Get a good case. You know, a padded case to protect them, so they're not getting dinged up and scratched up and things like that, and they can last an
Yeah.
awful long time. So.
No trash bags.
No, for several years I actually just carried them loose and no bag at all, and like, yeah, they kind of got a little scratched up and whatnot. But I don't do that anymore. So I buy cases for all my tripods now.
I've always wanted a Sackler though.
Yeah,
Satchler?
Sackler, yeah. So and they're not actually in the top end brand. There are some other ones like Miller and O'Connor that make even nicer ones. But they have price tags to match too. So
What's the most expensive? Do you know?
I don't even know. It's probably some boutique brand that nobody's ever heard of. You know,
Some European brand?
something, yeah, something fancy, you know, where they only make for very elite clientele, you know, one-off kind of things, you know.
Yeah.
But in terms of the major players that make high-quality tripods, you know, that's where your Sackler and your Miller, O'Connor, and some of those are. So
So about 3,000 would be a decent.
3,000 will get you a pretty decent one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you're talking about the same kind of money as a camera, but at the same time, this is going to outlast this camera and its replacement and its replacement.
Yeah. Mhm.
So.
So you're gonna have it a lot longer.
So
Just be
one-time
relevant a
investment
lot
that's
longer.
going to serve you well for a very long time. So, yep.
So don't skimp out, guys.
No, yeah. Make sure you budget for them when you're building up your equipment. You know. So,
Yeah.
it does absolutely pay off. So,
I have, I think, 3 broken tripods at my house right now. They're cheap.
that's what happens.
Yep. It's
buy
true.
it right once or buy it wrong 10 times. You know, it's like you take your pick.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
You guys have any questions? Let us know.
Yep. Leave them in the
Pretty
comments.
simple to set up. That's basically everything you need to know.
Yeah, this is kind of the crash course in tripods. So one of these things we probably won't have to come back and revisit later. Unlike
Yay!
everything else they talk about.
That's cool.
So, yeah, like she says, if you have any questions, we can leave those in the comments and do the best to answer them. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. You get to see her lovely face twice a week, and then mine 3 times a week.
Yep.
So the series that we're working on together here is basic video production, live streaming, that kind of thing. And then the other stuff I do is more techie, more nerdy.
Yeah, I
So-
barely understand it. That's okay though.
So, but yeah, we're trying to serve both markets here, and so, but yeah, if you know anybody else who actually does video production, be sure and share these videos with them. So I think they'll get something out of it, even if they've been doing it for years. You know, there's little tips and tricks and whatnot in every one of these videos.
Yep.
So,
I'm learning.
so am I.
Yeah, yay.
Cool. Alrighty.
All right, till next time, Q&A.
Yep.
Q&A
will be
next
Q&A.
time,
Yep.
so-
So Thursday, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 1900 UTC, and you can submit questions ahead of time if you want, or just ask them live on the feed as well. So, yep.
All right,
Okay. Thanks for watching.
thanks guys.
We'll talk to you later.